I have so many questions.
I think that's what happened, right? I think we have to do like a Clash of the Gods. That's what's going to happen in Clash of the Gods 2 with Russell Crowe and another white man.
Aaron, they already made a sequel.
Is that true?
Yeah, there's a sequel. I saw it in theaters.
Welcome to Bible Boys, a podcast where two ex-evangelical siblings and an ex-Catholic non-sibling watch Christian media and either praise or condemn it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
And this week, abandon all hope as we read Dante Alighieri's 14th century epic poem, Inferno. Before we discuss Catholicism's most infamous fanfic, please be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, like and comment on our video, and follow us on Twitter at The Bible Boys.
Now, as you probably could tell from the shorter intro, Michael is doing his normal ninja assassin stuff currently. So we wish him the best of luck as he travels through hell to kill Ronald Reagan again. Very doomed.
Who do we think Michael's guide to hell is?
I mean, my gut says Dolly Parton.
But she's like wicked alive, right?
Yeah, she's super alive, which is not like a great pick. And then like my brain goes to like, I feel like him and Cleopatra would have a good time. Or
yeah, we could get Cleo in there.
Catherine the Great. That's my final answer.
Interesting choice. We'll have to pull Michael whenever he comes back from his mission. Famously, we talked about the EA 2010 Dante's Inferno video game probably about a year ago at least now. And, you know, we had a lot of fun with Josh watching the extended XXX cut for some reason.
Yeah, I'm so glad I didn't do it this time. When it did make sense when they got to, you know, the first or the second circle with lust in it, and then Dante was describing the titty monsters that crawled out of nipples. I was so glad to see where, you know, they got that source material. That was in your version too, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's just a long
awesome
section about how you have to invest points in your scythe to reap the souls and get more XP. I thought that was weird, but I guess it's just from the poem. But yeah, no, we are going to try something. We're going to try doing a little bit of interrogation of both the Inferno, and I think we're going to try next week to do Purgatorio as well. Y'all know about Paradiso. It's probably fine. I don't know. We don't care about Paradiso, though.
I'm going to be honest. As someone who had to read these in college, like, Paradiso is everlasting salvation. Everything's good up here. Yay. No one gives a shit. They want to know about people getting tortured in hell and what the weird stuff they're doing in purgatory. It's just not as interesting. Yeah,
no. Can you actually explain about this? Because, like, my background with the Inferno is, like, I, like, heard about it in Catholic school. Like, you know, it was... We, like, probably read a couple passages out of it, but, like, I never read the whole thing, and I had certainly not read Purgatorio or Paradiso. But, like, you studied this formally in school.
Yeah, so I had two experiences with Inferno. The first one was in high school. We read most of Dante's Inferno. And then again in college, I took a class that was just about reading, like, classic literature. So, like, we read this... Frankenstein, Dracula, all that good stuff. This was definitely not my favorite because listen, Dante stands come at me. Show up in the comment section. I know you will, but I just don't like how he writes, and it's kind of the material is not good enough to read through that style of writing. Does that make sense?
I mean, like, I think that there's a lot of, like, rich imagery and, like, you know, the modern conception of hell is very centrally based in this poem, right? I mean, I think that cannot be ignored.
For sure.
Like, that's... Dante kind of really shaped how we in the modern era, like, view hell. You know, we famously talked about... Not famously, but we've previously talked about on our show about how, like, hell doesn't actually, you know, exist in the Bible, really. It's kind of like a thing that over the years got tacked on, much like Satan. But, like... this is like still how if you're depicting hell in any like meaningful way, you're gonna get like a bunch of people with pitchforks and there's gonna be fire and they're gonna be, you know, running around and poking people in the butt.
Yeah, like this when you talk about torture in hell, like an eternity of torture, you're like, okay, I can kind of wrap my mind around this. And then Dante was like, what if I give you details about it though? What if I let you know exactly what torture you will get based off of how sinful you were, or what? This is also something I wanted to talk about. I misunderstood this the first time I read Dante's Inferno, and I thought you went deeper the more sin you did, not the type of sin you did. And this is based off of my Southern Baptist leading in, because we're taught that, like, all sin is equally bad, no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. And that's very different than what the entire message of this is.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. But as far as, like, accessibility, like we were saying, you know, I think that the Inferno is a deeply important, you know, work to understand modern Christianity. And also, like, I was reading a translation by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, which, like, you know, shout outs to Henry, but, like, I still found the text just dense as all hell. You know, like, maybe in Italian the like rhymes and meter would come out to a more pleasing way, but, like, you know, writing in this, like, older style I found very hard to get through. That's not to say nothing of, like, the 100 different, like, specific Italian politicians he drops in here from, like, the 13th and 14th century that I was like, I don't know who this is, Mr. Alighieri. Like, and it's such a wild thing that, like, Dante's specific politics and, like, the politics of the Italian city-states at the time, like, dominate this text that, like, in our modern era, 700 years later, just, like, none of that actually, like, bleeds through into popular conception about this poem.
Yeah, I'd love to take, like, a Colbert Report 400 years in the future and show it to them and just be like, so what do you think? And then being like, I don't...
They're going to be like, Elon Musk? Who is that? We can only fucking hope. Like, do you want to do a real quick summary of the Inferno? I don't even know if we have to do one.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of... So, we meet Dante. Dante is... every single time I read his name, I picture him as Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit, of course. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is because every time shit's about to get really interesting, he finds a way to get knocked unconscious. So, it'll come up a lot. Dante goes and he is halfway through his life, which he is 35, and he gets taken on a magical, wonderful journey after running away from 3 animals, a leopard, a lion, and a she-wolf. And he's saved by his... do you think if I give him and Virgil homoerotic undertones that, like, I'm reading into it too much?
I was gonna use the word senpai, because... Virgil to Dante is very much just, like, he calls him master and lord, and, like, you know, we you know, we're very happy to ascribe queer relationships into classical texts here at Bible Voice. I don't think that's wrong. There's a lot of, like, they kiss. They, like, Virgil, like, many times will lift Dante up and, like, carry him like bridal style to various parts of hell. So, like, I don't think you're wrong.
And if Michael's not here, someone has to. Like, someone, it's my job as a green brother.
That's right.
So these two go, well, the reason Virgil is there is because, I hate this, because Rachel told Beatrice to tell Virgil to tell Dante, hey, I love you.
It's really stupid. We'll talk more about the characters here in a bit, but basically the 3 main ones are Dante, Virgil, and Beatrice.
Yes, and Dante and Beatrice are in love, but not as much as Dante and Virgil are. So Dante goes through the circles of hell. I'm just going to read them off real quick. It's limbo, lust, gluttony, greed, wrath, heresy, violence, fraud, treachery. The last couple get segmented even further. So, like, there are even kind of layers upon the layers. They just kind of keep going down the layers of hell, and Dante gets kind of more depressed and confused and passes out a lot throughout it. I don't really want to spend a ton of time on each one, just because we're going to do that kind of later.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you've got it.
Yeah, and I mean, then it goes to the very end, and he sees Satan just fucking up Judas, just poning that motherfucker. And
Epic fail. Assassinated God, and now I'm getting pwned in hell.
And he walks up and goes, "Wow, L." And then gravity is weird, and they are on the other side of the world. And that's the end credit scene where it's like, there's going to be another Marvel movie about this.
Mm-hmm. They show the teaser of Mount Purgatory like they did in the video game.
But this one actually did get a sequel.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, that's basically it. He walks through hell. He sees some shit. Let's talk about Mr. Alighieri. We've already talked about how, like, we find this is style of writing very difficult to get through, and I mean, that's partly just because we're, not only reading it through translated Italian 700 years later, but also it's, 700 years later and language changes. But yeah, I mean, like, what are your major impressions of him?
I as said before with the Bilbo Baggins, he just is like this is fair for what is going on with the character, and this is why I think it is interesting that, like, he's fucking terrified 24/7, just having a bad time, and every once in a while it's just like, hey, why do we have to do this again? Can we, like, circle back on that issue? Why didn't you just kind of save me from the animals and we just vibed?
Is that, yeah, he's terrified. I would say that he's terrified like 90% of the time. And the other 10% of the time, he is either talking about how fucking cool he is or like dunking on the people who are in hell. And that's like, his character arc in the Inferno is wild.
It's so weird because while he'll go from like, oh my god, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen. This guy looks like he's got a story.
Hey, let me chat. I think there's definitely one person who is like, he says like, hey, I'll tell you my story or if you like help me out. And Dante's like, yeah, I'll definitely pull you out of the ice here. And then he tells him, and Dante's like, okay, bye, idiot. So like, my understanding is that the reason that it's structured like this is that at first Dante is passing out because he's like, wow, I can't believe all these people who are in hell. I feel so bad for them. But Virgil's like, well, God put them here, which means it's actually good, and you shouldn't feel bad for them. And like as he progressively descends, he's just like, oh, I'm learning more about the way that these people are being punished and seeing that it is just. And at the end, I've come to realize that, yeah, no, it's good that all these people are in hell. And I've learned to, that's why he like starts dunking on people. Like at one point he does like a sweet burn on somebody. And like he's talking to this person. This is in Canto 19. But like, He's talking about this guy this guy is in a hole. He's upside down in a hole having his feet burned. And his sin is simony or whatever, which is selling indulgences. And at the end, Dante's just like, well, fucking sucks. You got what you deserved. And Virgil is so happy that he hugs Dante and like carries him off. And it's just like, what is happening here?
Could you imagine getting the eternal punishment for your many, many crimes against God? And I'm just saying, it wasn't in the contract that some little Poindexter would come down and roast your ass every few hundred years. Like, that's not what this man agreed to. He agreed to have the feet burning.
Just wild. But yeah, I mean, I think Dante's kind of an asshole because, like, there's also points where he goes and meets the, like, I think he meets Plato, right?
Yes.
Or no, he meets Homer, Horace, Ovid, and Lucan, who are all like classical, Greek and Roman philosophers and storytellers. And the line itself is, and more of honor still, much more did me in that they made me one of their own band. So basically he's just like, yeah, they were like, oh shit, Dante? Oh yeah, you can come sit with us. You're one of the cool kids. And it's like, man, I wish that if I was writing a fanfic, this is like, when we say fan fiction, like, it's like kind of like a burn, but it's like not really, because it follows so much of the same like self-insert like tropes, because it's very much just like, oh, all my idols want to come lift me and kiss me, and they tell me that how cool I am and how good my writing is. It's just incredible.
But if you also mix that with, like, the author has enough self-awareness to be like, but no, I do pass out when things get a little stressful, though.
That's the thing, right? He does he does give himself some L's, and you gotta respect that. He's not too arrogant.
There are some, like, baffling moments between him and Virgil, and I feel like we could kind of piggyback off this conversation onto Virgil, who I find to be a very, very, very frustrating character, because this is never a book you would get from the 1300s. I would love someone to be like, man, maybe they shouldn't get tortured for eternity, which is not something that would be written at that time. But every time Dante hints at that, Virgil's like, shut the fuck up, loser. No, God put him here, and they should be tortured worse. And it's weird that you don't think that. Anyway, I kind of love you.
That's really what the tone of this is like, right? Like, basically, Dante will be like, hey, isn't this a little harsh? And Virgil will be like, shut up, you complete moron. Anyway, I love you so much. And it's like, literally within, like, the stanzas, like, one set of 3 lines will be like, you know, him admonishing Dante, and then the next set will just be like, anyway, I love you so much, my sweet boy. Let's continue further into the abyss. And I just, like... I tweeted this earlier, but, like, I was like, the pacing in this is bad. Like, I don't understand. Like, maybe pacing was different. Except, I mean, of course pacing was different 700 years ago, right? You know, modes of style and language and you know, everything changes. But, like, I am just flabbergasted with my 21st century understanding of literature that this poem is structured the way it is.
And, like, Virgil just kind of... First of all, it's toxic. And I hope Dante learns and is able to get out of it, because the love bombing, there's gaslighting in there. It's just not good. And the second point I want to make is that Virgil kind of talks to Dante in the same way I talk to my cat, where it's like, you stinky dumb loser, you dumb animal, you dumb stinky loser, my little baby, kiss your little forehead. Like, it's so weird.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know how much you go on Tumblr, but, like, there's the concept of, like, a fictional man that's just your sad, pathetic, wet little meow meow. And
I'm familiar with the meow meows.
Okay, yeah, you see what I'm talking about. That's exactly the same way that Virgil treats Dante, and it's so funny.
I just have to let you know, Aaron, it took everything in me not to gaslight you and being like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Listen, I've been on Tumblr long enough to know that that's a thing. You cannot... I would send this segment to your partner, who would be like, no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, they'd kick this door down and be like, we use that term daily.
Yeah, but, you know, you know, their relationship is weird, but, like, you know, Dante clearly positions himself as, like, you know, like Virgil is a master and he is the student, in whatever, you know, weird, you know, strange relationships that would have entailed in the 14th century, but, like...
Which is weird, because Virgil's in hell.
Yeah, Virgil straight up he's in limbo, right? Because he didn't believe in Jesus.
Yeah, which is so strange. And I think that kind of explains why he's so, like, he's like, oh, I have to guide this fucking idiot around hell. But I am not in limbo currently, and I get to peek at heaven later, so maybe this isn't too bad.
It's worth it. And then there's Beatrice. So, like, Beatrice doesn't really show up except for in the first couple cantos. So Beatrice is based on a real woman, Beatrice Portinari, who was, like, died at the age of, like, 24 or 25. And, like, basically Dante, like, knew her from, like, living in Florence and, like, his work, but, like, they didn't talk. Like, they never went out.
This is some real, hey, they're Delilah shit, where you find out that, like, she's uncomfortable with the song being written about her. Where Beatrice is like, our undying what?
She's like, wait, hold on. The fucking, that poet guy that knew my dad, he wrote what about me? Excuse me?
He said, I don't know who he is. Now he's saying that he's like, I'm getting cucked by Virgil? What the fuck? Which is a power move to write someone, write cucking into a relationship that didn't exist.
It's really good. But, like, you know, Beatrice is his muse, right, in the classical sense. She inspires him to do all his work. And, like, she literally sends Virgil, in fact, down to, you know, guide Dante, because in Dante's fantasy, you know, this hot girl that he met once is guiding him to her from heaven. And it's just wild. Just a wild thing to... Just a wild relationship upon which one of the most famous poems of, you know, the Western canon is based.
Keep in mind, dear listener, we haven't even gotten into hell. Aaron and I have been standing outside of hell doing, like, set dressing and preparing you. We haven't even walked in. There are fucking centaurs in there.
Yeah, there's, like, flies buzzing around us right now, and we're just like, oh, no, I don't want to abandon all hope. This sucks.
Maybe the leopard's cool.
Maybe the leopard's cool. It's hard to say. I mean, and like I don't think we're going to actually go, you know, circle by circle, because if you want, like, pretty general breakdowns of what happens, you can listen to our video game episode, because that might actually be more clear than this. We are going to omit a lot of very specific Italian politicians and people that, like, Dante knew, because so much of this poem is just him being like, man, the politics of Italian city-states were so wild, and they're also so important to me that I'm going to condemn them alongside, like, you know, like some of the people that he knew are, like, in the 8th circle, like, right above Satan. And it's just like, are you sure, bro? In all of time, you're going to put this guy?
He put some, like deep cuts deep into hell. Like, yeah. It's not like if I put, like, my mayor on that list. It's like if I put, like, the junior city councilor that was there for a week and then left due to family issues. And I was like, yep, they're going deep into hell.
Yep. Let's start there. What's your favorite circle of hell?
Oh, it's so hard to pick because they're all so fucking weird. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of a cop-out and go with the very last one, because it's a combination of, like, really interesting and weird as fuck. Because the 9th circle is treachery, and it's a big frozen lake, because the further away you are from God's glory, like, the colder it gets, which is, I love that so fucking much. That's dope. And the worse you are, the more you are frozen in ice until you are completely frozen in ice.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think the 9th circle is definitely the most interesting and best part of the entire poem, right? Because it's literally, like, taking that trope of, like, hell is a fiery burning place and putting Satan frozen in a lake of ice. And that kicks ass. I mean, I think the imagery of that, like, Dante and Virgil walking across a frozen lake with, like, bunches of people's, like, heads sticking out, like, and they're, like, crying, but their tears are freezing in their eyes. I think that rules.
Oh yeah, and then you have, like, Satan there with 3 heads, and oh my god, what were the other 2 people getting chewed up?
Okay, so this is something that stuck with me for a long time. But yeah, you got them?
I've got one of them. One of them is Brutus.
Yes, and you know who the other is?
I don't.
It's Cassius, the other assassin who was right. Julius Caesar.
Julius Caesar gets 2.
Yeah, and... like, I am just, like, thinking about this, and I was like, it's kind of fucking wild that they put the people who killed Julius Caesar alongside fucking Judas Iscariot.
And, like, dear listener, I'm grabbing your face at this point in time. Caesar isn't even in heaven. He's in limbo.
He's chilling. Yeah, he's chilling with Virgil.
He's not in the grace of God.
I don't know why. I don't know. Like, here's the thing. Like, I know who Brutus and Cassius are. One, because of Conde Golden's Great Emperor series, which is, like, the reason that I am a history nerd. It's like a historical fiction. It's a fictionalized account of Julius Caesar's life. But, like, the other reason I know that is because of William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, in which, you know, Brutus and Cassius play an important role. But, like, that wouldn't happen. That play doesn't get written for another 300 years. Which is like, why, bro? Why do you care so much about fucking the Caesar who got murked?
It's so fucking weird because, like, I know that going in because I'm a fucking dweeb, and I say et to Brutus anytime anyone does anything mean to me. But, like, oh my fuck, and it follows a theme that we see, which is his absolute raging boner for all things Roman, and it goes all the way to the Trojans, where he's just like, God, if they're even kind of, like, if they ever did anything bad to my sweet, sweet, helpless Roman Empire, I'm punishing them so bad.
Like, the ratio of Greeks to Romans/Latins, like, in the levels of the circles, like, we talked about this just earlier, but, Odysseus/Ulysses is in the 8th circle of hell.
Yeah!
Because of what, like, Dante says it's because he, like, told his crew that they were going to go on a sweet adventure and they were going to, like, sail beyond the Pillars of Hercules and, you know, into the west, like, where the gods live, and, like, that's, you know, that's, like, so prideful and you know, treacherous to the people, his men. But I think the real reason is because of the horse.
Never forgave him. Literally, he was like, that fucking bastard.
It is just wild how much he's just like, oh man, my sweet boy Aeneas, who definitely was a real guy who existed.
And not at all a metaphor for the current ruling class.
Do you think that Virgil knew that Aeneas was fake? It was just like, oh god, I don't want to tell him. I'd feel so bad.
It's like being with a kid being like, oh man, Santa. It's like, yeah, Santa.
I did in college meet somebody who thought the Aeneid was real work. Like,
I don't.
A work of history.
So many people like think that, and then like the Odyssey and the Iliad, because they're kind of sort of based off of history with the biggest asterisks ever next to it. So I don't blame people with the Aeneid, because they do the same thing with fucking Atlantis, and it's all a fucking metaphor and trying to do a poem.
Yeah, but just wild that his preference shows constantly in the funniest ways. Like, that's why I think, that's why I just like I don't know if Plato.
He's in it. Yeah, he's in the in Limbo.
Yes, he's in Limbo too. Okay, yeah. So, just wild.
With Socrates and Aristotle famously was like, you know what, slavery, good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know much, but that would put you pretty far from God's everlasting love if I was making the choices around here, but I'm not.
Here's the thing. I feel like slavery and the Catholic Church has a pretty long relationship that goes back a while, and it is not, let's say, the most politically correct one.
I'm also going to say it's not a complicated one either. It was a pretty big thumbs up for a long time.
No, yeah, that's the problem. So yeah, it's, yeah. I that makes sense why he would be like, yeah, you know, slavery's cool.
So which is your favorite circle?
You know, aside from the 9th, which I do think is an all-timer, you know, I kind of like that lust is the topmost layer, because Dante's like, yeah, I'm horny, which means that, like, it's probably fine to be horny. There's a story that I actually thought was really, really interesting, but also, like, kind of funny in Canto 5. This is when they first enter the second circle. And they see Helen and Cleopatra and Paris. But there's this couple who, you know, this pair of Italians who get sent to hell because they are in love with each other, and like they are reading this book together. They're reading about the works of Lancelot, actually, and they are like reading this book, and then they just like keep looking at each other, like reading this very horny book of romantic poetry, and then they stop reading it because they start fucking, because the great poem got them too turned on. And anyway, now they just chill in hell forever, and they get blown around in a big hurricane. And I just thought that was very fun.
That is one of those where, like, you will not get a depiction like that in media, I think, for a long time, because everyone's like, yeah, gluttony, they're filled with, like, gross goo and, like, you know, forced to fill maggots around them, and, you know, the further you are from God, the further you are from the heat of his love. If you horny, wind blow you.
Yeah, like, it's literally, like, the tamest. Like, that's why the first level of the video game, they had to be like, okay, so Cleopatra actually is, like, a titty battleship with big breast cannons. like, they had to spice it up, because otherwise it would be too tame. Which is wild.
It was unfortunate, and we'll get into a certain quiz we got, but the one I would actually be going to, due to my being of bisexual, is the 7th layer out of 9. 7!
Yeah, they put sodomites, like, way, way deep.
Also, a fucking batshit thing is, while, like, talking to sodomites, he's just like, one dude's like, oh yeah, these people who are alive are gay.
He's just
get out there,
outing people in his text. Like, hey, dude, could you be cool?
Just be chill for... Dude, what? You and Virgil have, like, tongue-kissed 3 times. So, like, maybe don't judge.
Yeah, I think we're going to get Dante canceled with this one. I think he's got some very problematic views.
I think we've got him. Everyone start tweeting at him. I'm really hoping he's not in Dante's Inferno, too. Him and the director are pretty close, though.
Yeah, we'll see. just send him a screenshot of the entire 7th circle with the caption, "This you."
Highlight every section where it's like, Virgil then held me deeply and long. So, Aaron, you sent me a little bit of homework right before we did this podcast.
Yes, because we were trying to think of the outline of the show, and I was like, you know, what circle of hell would I be in? And I realized, there's a great website that'll tell you what circle of hell you're in. It is, of course, BuzzFeed.
As BuzzFeed quizzes go, I've taken many because I grew up at a time when, of course you did. This one's weird. I'm just gonna be honest. It's a fucking weird one, because the questions are: pick a drink, pick a movie, pick a city, pick a social media platform, pick a dessert, pick a color, pick a book, which Dante's Inferno is included, and then pick a subject at school. And without going through our individual answers, Aaron, which circle are you?
I am, of course, in the gluttons. I lie in disgusting mud and garbage while polluted rain comes pouring down on me. My everlasting pain is caused by the pelting rains from Cerberus, the 3-headed dog. I'm going to have a great time getting ripped up.
Good to hear. And, of course, I am... Aaron and I are very different people, so, of course, I got gluttony.
God damn it. Well... At least we'll be hanging out in getting eaten by Cerberus together.
I'll see you there. Yeah, I got that answer. I'm like, we definitely are going to get the same one. Because we are, as much as we joke, Aaron and I have a lot of things in common.
Yeah, that's why we decided that we would read a fucking 14th century poem for our next pair of duet episodes. Yeah, no, but like, we'll drop the link in the show notes. It's a very quick quiz. Shout outs to Berardelli, who was the community contributor for this. Great quiz.
Also, the tagline is too good not to mention. You say goodbye, I say hello.
Yes, excellent. BuzzFeed is a pillar of classical literature understanding. Yeah, I mean, like, I like to think that I'd probably be in lust or gluttony, or I would actually probably be in the ones that's like, oh, you knew about Jesus and you went to Catholic school, but you're not a Catholic anyway, so now you're fucked.
Now beetles are going to chase you.
We get the butthole spiders out for you.
I don't know. It's very interesting how... I want to just touch in on how you go to hell. You confess your sins, and then a snake wraps around you that certain, like, corresponding ring that it's about to send you, so technically you are being like, I did this, so I will go to hell.
Mm-hmm. Not just a snake, though. Do you remember whose tale that is?
Oh fuck, isn't it? Oh, I know it. It's is it King Midas?
Close. It's King Minos.
Fucking of course, the dude who fucked a big ol' bull.
Mm-hmm. Fun, and also we see his son here. The Minotaur is also here. Nepotism in hell, man. It's terrible.
Yeah, he does stop you, and he talks about his lacrosse game coming up for 45 minutes. And you're just, he's taking your job as soon as he's out of grad school.
It's such a pain in the ass. Yeah, no, the Minotaur is, of course, in the 12th canto, where I think that's violence. He's torturing Alexander the Great and shit, hanging out with all the centaurs. There's centaurs in hell. I don't know why.
There are centaurs, and it's so weird, the Greek, like, creatures that show up that are demons, which is really funny to me. Also, oh my god, how have I not mentioned this? In the last section where it's all about, like, betrayal, that's how you get in that frozen lake. Mm-hmm. There's a dude, and I cannot remember his fucking name, that's in there because he betrayed Zeus.
Yes, I remember that. I was like, wait, hold on.
What?
It's Ephialtes, who is, of course, a Titan.
In Christian hell.
Yeah, I think that's a little fucked up because, like, this is like right before they get to the Lake of Ice, and it's just like all giants. There's just like a level of hell that they had to keep the ceilings very high on because of all the giants that are here. Like the hunter Nimrod is down here, but like, yeah, they just have like people like. They have a man who led a rebellion against a Greek god in Christian hell, which does bring a lot of questions. Like, so were the Greek gods also real? But because the Christian God was better than them, it's still, that's why they're, what?
Did God eat them to become a bigger god?
I think that's what happened, right? I think we have to do like a Clash of the Gods. That's what's going to happen in Clash of the Gods 2 with Russell Crowe and another white man.
Aaron, they already made a sequel.
Is that true?
Yeah, there's a sequel. I saw it in theaters.
Why did you see it in the theaters?
Because me and my dad love to see movies together.
Okay. Well,
it's not funny, it's cute.
Relationship with your father, that's fine.
If you have a relationship with your father, like, comment, and subscribe.
Great, good. That's fucking wild. But yeah, no, an incredible detail.
But Aaron, he's not the only one from another religion that has an appearance in this book.
There's so so in Canto 28, they're in the 9th Bolgia of the 8th circle, and this is where all the people who cause schisms are. Notably, there's one person who is like, I saw one rent from the chin to where one breaketh wind, which is an all-time line.
Okay, never mind. Dante's verses go hard.
Listen, sometimes he pops off. But like, yeah, so people, like, because of the ways that they caused splits within their organization or, religion, these people are now literally cleft in half. And then I saw, so he names two people, Mahomet and Ali, and he calls them disseminators of scandal and schism. And I was like, Mahomet, should I know who that is? Josh?
Yeah.
It's the Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
From Islam.
And it's wild that they put, like, Ali in there as well, so he at least has enough of an understanding of Islam to be like, oh, and I know, he's like, oh, I know he did something, so we're gonna put him in there too.
Get his son's ass, just cuss. Yeah, there's also Jews down here. There's like a lot of Jews. Like Dante, Dante is extremely Catholic in all the worst ways. But yeah, so
we got him for the homophobia. We got him for the racism. We got him now for Islamophobia. And you know what? I'm adding anti-Semitism in there. So I think we got enough material to cancel this idiot.
I think so. A couple other wild people who are in hell. So there is Caucus, who is either the translation led me to believe that was a dragon. It might just be that Caucus is a giant from Greek mythology who has a dragon riding on him. Either way, I thought it was very funny that the dragons in here can sin, which means conversely there can be virtuous dragons, which I hope live in heaven and are just chilling.
If there are not dragons in heaven, I don't want to go.
It's not heaven if there's not dragons there.
Also, the idea that in heaven you get to ride the dragons, but in hell the dragons get to ride you is very fucking funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually my personal conception of heaven and hell, so that makes sense.
Just get squashed by a big old lizard. I don't know if you have this number, but there are so many fucking popes in hell.
There's a significant number of popes in hell.
There's it's enough for me to be like, are you Catholic? Because it's a lot, man. You put a lot of them down here. And I guess there's nothing more Catholic than being like, yeah, that pope didn't go to heaven.
That's actually the mark of a true Catholic, is if you have opinions on specific popes. That's how you know you're a real one. Boniface, oh no, fuck that guy.
I'm a
the
Peter,
Manticores
man.
are getting his ass.
We mentioned before the Julius Caesar's in there, but he's in Limbo, so Limbo's very weird to me because it also includes some angels that decided not to get involved with the war in heaven, which is hilarious to me. That there was just a group that went, let's see how this plays out.
What if we just hang out on the sidelines? The Switzerland of angels.
They're the fucking centrists, and they deserve to be deeper in hell.
Also, a wild person who's in limbo is famous Muslim general Saladin.
Oh my god, yes. I forgot about that.
Which, like,
why?
right?
So weird.
Like, a lot of the notes that I've read point this out. They're like, hey, it's pretty weird that he put the prophet very, very deep in hell, but Saladin he thought was cool. Considering, like, Dante probably lived around the time that Saladin was still kicking. Like, he probably heard dispatches of Saladin just whooping ass. And he was like, yeah, actually, that dude rules. He can chill in limbo.
I think he was hoping for, like, a fall from villainy. You know, he's like, when the villain's so interesting, you hope they switch sides eventually.
Yeah, it's just he's just wearing him down in limbo.
I'm trying to see if there are any other super fucking weird ones. There is one where he was like, oh, it's my friend's dad.
Yeah. It's literally just,
that's rough.
Like, hey,
that's
I
rough.
know you.
That's fucking brutal, man. If I make a story about hell, I'm not putting Aaron's dad in hell.
Thank you. I think he would appreciate that.
Anytime. You can put my dad in there, as long as you get the characterization right.
I don't think your dad would be in hell. I think your dad, at very most, is chilling in purgatory somewhere.
I know for a fact my dad's not going to hell. He'd argue his way up.
Yeah, exactly. He knows how to work the system. I'm sure he'll be fine.
He'd grab him and be like, 3rd level. He'd be like, no. Going up.
Yeah, we'll be all right. Mr. Minos, as you'll see here in the King James version of the Bible, I think you're wrong.
I don't know who the fuck you are, and I've read this thing multiple times.
There's just like a lot of Bolognese, like a lot of very specific people from various city-states. Jason of the Argonauts is in here.
He's in the 8th circle. He's getting fucked up.
Yeah, no. Jason apparently was a prick, though, so fuck him.
The sorcerers, so like if they don't get Michael for some of the other stuff, they will get him for his witchcraft.
Yeah, Michael and my wife will both be chilling with the sorcerers, with their heads turned backwards.
Which I did think was a funny punishment, that like if you tried to tell the future, your head got turned around.
Yeah, some of them are pretty good. Like, people who do too much flattery, they have to, like, live in a shit river because they're so full of shit.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
We have not mentioned the forest, where if you kill yourself, you become a tree.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on that.
No. I mean, come on. I mean, that's more of a Catholicism problem, but, like, come on, Dante.
I thought in 1300, geez, man, that's some like 1200 stuff.
Yeah, come on. This is not. Maybe if he was writing from like 1250, but like he was an enlightened man. This isn't. He's not a product of his time. There's just a man named Michael Scott in Canto 20. I was like, yes, finally, the office is getting flayed alive like it needs to be.
Oh my god, that's also very deep in fucking hell at that point.
Yeah, like, the pacing of this book is so irritating to me because, like, they get to, like, the 7th circle of hell, like, within, like, 10 of these cantos, and there's 34 in the Inferno. I'll find the actual number, but like they go through them so quickly. I was like, oh wait, what? Hey, hold on. Can you slow down, Mr. Dante? Yeah, but like by Canto 12, they are already in the 7th circle. Like the pacing of this is so frustrating, and like the way that that they get around this is that like the like last 3 circles have like layers upon layers. But like I was so confused by the time that I got to this point. I was like, is this the 8th one? No, we're in the 6th part of the 7th one. And I was just like, okay, all right. So like next time I'm definitely going to be like using a guide. I'm going to need some help from good old Spark Notes when we read. Yeah, definitely. Spark Notes is kind of like the modern.
You need a Virgil,
I think. I wish.
Yeah, just less homoerotic.
You got to get a special extension to get homoerotic.
But
Spark
in
Notes.
hell, thankfully.
No.
Do not click on the wrong one.
Which punishment did you think was the least fitting?
The least fitting. I go back and forth on lust a lot. Because there's something so, like... the idea that, like, the people are being tossed around by wind because they were tossed around by, go here and there with their desires. It's like, I kind of get where you're going, but that's just
weird.
It's weird. It's a weird punishment for that crime.
Both Christian culture and American culture that we've grown up in. It's very weird that, like, lust is such a weird, not big deal in hell.
Yes.
I mean, like, you're still in hell, but, like, it's, like, not nearly as bad as getting, like, filled with snakes or whatever.
For sure, and I think that's why a lot of people change it, because they want that to be worse.
I don't know that I have one that I thought was like particularly weird. Besides, like you said, I think it's very strange that lust is so weird. I liked the I think it's weird that the people who either spend too much or spend not enough are constantly jousting with each other. They basically just like have big rocks, and they're made to run at each other and be like, hey, you spent too much money, hey, you haven't been spending enough, this is why the economy's fucked up, and they just have to do that for forever. And it's like, I don't know that either of those are a sin, but okay.
The idea of like putting every person on TV that's ever told anyone what to do with their money,
I would love
like
to
in
see
that exact
fucking,
punishment does fill
Jim
me with
Baker
joy, though.
and Joel Osteen fucking fight each other with big rocks.
Who's the Mad Money guy, Kramer? Just strap a rock to him.
There's also there's a story about Count Ugolino and Ruggeri, the Archbishop, who like they were involved in some sort of weird Italian factional politics, and that's all inscrutable to us. But like the main thing is that like this Archbishop imprisoned this count and all his sons like in a tower, and like threw the key away in a river, so they all starved to death. And, like, the implication is that the Count's sons died first, or, like, he killed them and ate them because he was so hungry and they were begging him to eat them. Then, like, in hell, Count Ugolino is, like, chewing on the Archbishop's head, which is, like, kind of a fun... It's kind of fun, but, like, I feel like the guy who... maybe made that guy's kids all get starved to death and eaten. Maybe the guy whose kids got eaten should be up a little bit. I don't know, Dante.
What? Yeah, because they're on the same level. They're
Yeah,
like
and
the
I mean, like,
only difference is
the
that one
reason
dude gets
when I read
bitten
about
in the
this was
head.
that, like, for Dante, like, their crimes were equivalent because they both were, like, traitors to whatever factional cause they were supporting. But, like, because of this archbishop, like, killing this guy's sons, he gets to chew on his head a little bit, which, that's fun, I guess. But again, a little bit harsh for the poor Count of Ugolino.
It is good to know that, like, when we are sent to hell for this podcast, that Aaron will be allowed to stab my ears for
Yes,
every time I've just punched the mic
I'm just going to make the
mid-recording.
static noise every single time. That'll be good.
Just deep in my ear.
So I think,
yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I think the last thing that we want to talk about was, like, so there's, this conversation comes up, like, every 6 months, probably even more frequently for you in education, Josh. But, like, reading through this, I was like, I don't know that my life has been improved by reading the Inferno, and it might just be better to know about classical literature than actually read it, because, like, I read The Scarlet Letter when I was in school, and, like, the only thing that I remember from that is that the letter was read, and it was an A because Hester was an adulterer, allegedly. And, like, I don't know. It seems like maybe the classics are extremely overrated.
Yeah, I have very mixed opinions on this, because on one hand, I 100% agree with you, and I look at, like, what students need to know, and my brain doesn't immediately go to, like, they need to know what good old Gatsby was doing, or what does that yellow or green light actually mean. But I'm not one that's, like, completely toss out a lot of this stuff. I just think that it should be, I feel like this is stuff that people can discover, like, if I happened upon Dante's Inferno or sought it out, I think I'd have a very different read than being, like, forced to read it and forced to dissect it. Of the books I think that we need to read and need to dissect, this isn't high on the list.
I think maybe Gatsby is a much more relevant text, just because, like, it's been within, like, the last 100 years or so. I guess at this point it's over 100 years, but that at least has some bearing on what kids today might learn about the last historical period. But, like, besides the imagery, I don't know how much of Dante's Inferno is relevant to to modern readers.
Yeah, and I took a class in college that, like I said before, about just the professor was like, you gotta read old books, that's what you gotta do. I did a project on the Communist Manifesto in that class, which was fun because the professor was extremely Republican. But in that we read, like, all kinds of older books on all kinds of different stuff, and this book came up alongside some of the other stuff, and once you get to a certain age, and once you get to a point, age of book, and the metaphors just start not connecting, like, there is something interesting about talking about politicians and people that are supposed to be leading, like, clergy members, like, going to hell because of what they did, but that means nothing to us because it's 700 years old. We cannot connect to that. I think it is a fantastic piece of imagery, but man, Dante's Inferno does nothing for me beyond that, unfortunately.
There's interesting stuff about clergy members being in hell. I guess it's kind of useful from a historical standpoint to be like, oh, people have always been hypocrites. And, like, people have always been, like, getting mad about their specific politicians.
Yeah.
Being full of shit, and, this is what they deserve. Yeah, and hating their friends' dads, as we all have that one.
And hating their friend's dad.
Hate. So I guess, like, from that kind of standpoint, I guess that's nice for for young people to be like, oh yeah, the world has always been really, really stupid. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's an important text, and I hesitate to say that I'm glad it exists because, like, maybe if this poem wasn't written, maybe the weird ways in which we envision, eternal punishment in Christianity would be very different. But I don't know. I guess if it's gonna be weird, I'd rather we'd have weird imagery. So I guess I have to thank Mr. Alighieri for that. Honestly, we need more centaurs in hell.
I'm upset they keep removing the centaurs. Put them back in hell. They got out. They escaped. We need to round them all back up and put them back in there. So to kind of wrap this up, I thought, because we are both history nerds, that we could have a fun time just putting historical figures that showed up after Dante in their place into hell. And I would like to start with one Benedict Arnold going all the way down to the ninth circle of hell for what he did to our good colonies. Oh, he is going to be in Satan's third mouth, getting munched on.
Interestingly, I think my first instinct was like, when I was reading this, I was like, oh, Dante, you think your popes were bad? You have not met the Borgias, have you? Yeah, no. Like, you have not even hit the worst popes yet, my love. So, like, I think it'd be very funny to see how Dante recategorizes all the nasty shit the Borgias did.
Yeah. This one's a bit of a sad one, unfortunately. But, like, I just have to be honest. Though he was an amazing basketball player, magic was in the name. So Magic Johnson, yeah, unfortunately.
Which famous NBA
the witchcraft
do we
made
think
it too
would
good.
Be in hell? Where would I put Larry Bird?
I just fucking know he punched a guy at least once,
there we go.
putting him in.
He'll be in the fucking Blood River or whatever.
Putting him in wrath.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, this is a separate question of, like, actual historical figures we think would be in hell. But I do like to think about people that Dante might consider to be in hell. Yeah.
Oh, this 100.
Yeah,
this
no,
is
Martin
not who
Luther
I think should go to hell. This is who I think Dante thinks should go to hell.
Fucking from chin to taint.
Oh my god!
Split open down there in the 8th circle.
I think, in all honesty, I think he'd put him right in that fucking devil's mouth. I think it would be Brutus, because you can't get rid of Brutus. I think it'd be Judas,
100%.
and then Martin Luther just getting munched on.
I mean, listen,
No, I think it should be Benedict
reorganizing
Arnold.
The structure of, Christianity as we know it, or kind of wanting to surrender West Point to the British, I guess. Didn't do shit. We still killed his ass.
Didn't really change the impact of the war that much.
I don't even know what Benedict Arnold did. I think he was going to surrender West Point, right? And then he didn't. He didn't even fucking pull it off.
So he was going to.
Whatever. What a fucking loser. At least fucking Judas fucking pulled it off. At least he got his 30 coins.
Yeah, Brutus got the guy. I'm just saying. Judas got the guy. Martin Luther got the guy. Come on, fucking Benedict Arnold should have shot George Washington.
Listeners,
if he really
write in. Which historical figure do you think should replace Cassius in Satan's mouth? Don't make it too serious. We've already talked about where we think Mr. Reagan.
Please, for the love of God,
do something fun.
Yeah, Reagan's already in there, as we all know. This is our goof world.
Hell as we know it. Don't worry about him. It's great. Excellent. We love to see it.
It's beautiful. Michael's
Josh,
on his way to kill him again.
Oh, we have to rate it.
No?
Yeah, I just got so excited.
Jesus Christ, it's been so long since you fucked that up.
Yeah, no, I just have to find the specific
about Michael killing Reagan a second time.
What would you rate this great poem?
I'm going to give this one... I want to make sure I get the right circle. Yes, so I am going to give this one Douglas MacArthur
thoughts.
in the
That's
8th
interesting.
circle of hell.
That's probably true. I guess I'm gonna give.
I think
I'm
we
gonna
all
give
should.
it a Boniface. I guess Boniface the Eighth because that's the lowest one on my Pope list, which is 262. Because I know Boniface shows up in the Inferno. I don't know if that's the right one, but I think Dante would approve.
Can you, now that we're kind of on this subject, can you let the organization know that they should stop?
Why can't we go back to there's only been one Conan?
That would be so dope.
Back
Conan
at it again.
The second. Oh.
Do you think Mr. O'Brien is Catholic? Do you think he's
this time we're getting him?
That's what I'm saying. Like he's probably
for every look how Irish he is, man. So I mean we could probably. And then can you just not change your name?
I guess.
Or do you have to?
No, like Peter didn't get a new name, so. Yeah.
So that's the excuse he should use. The Catholic Church gets to be like, we're in charge because Peter was.
Okay. Well,
so I guess that they could do the same thing.
Once Francis retires, I assume that's just what popes are doing now. We can assume that Conan will take over, and that'll be a great time.
Would you like to lead us to the promised land of...
trying to pick the next pope. Josh, where can we find people on the internet? I'm at AaronSXL on Twitter.
I am at Green History on Twitter.
Health policy and writing. I released a tabletop journaling game based on the Left Behind franchise called Forsaken. And you can find that at aaronsxl.itch.io. I do another podcast with my friend Layla. That's at Mortified Pod on Twitter. We just did our 101 episode, and that's kind of a clip show to get all the good Mortified lore. If you want to jump on the Mortified train, but you don't know which of the 100 episodes to start with 101. I think it's a great place to learn a lot about what we think about both Robert Pattinson and James Cameron. Well, listeners, if thinking about all the punishments that your co-hosts are going to suffer once we do depart from this mortal coil brings a tear to your eye, just remember that it is okay to cry, because even Jesus wept. We'll see you all next time.